Chapter 1: The Last Signal. The operations room at 3 a.m. is a tomb of cold light and older silences, the kind that settles into a man's marrow after 14 days of watching a frozen satellite image, and a blinking line that reads Layla, last signal 14 days ago. The coffee in the ceramic cup beside my left hand has long since surrendered its heat to the recycled air, and the prayer rug in the corner, a small thing of worn crimson and gold, the last gift from my wife before the cancer made its final, merciful withdrawal, remains untouched because to kneel would be to admit that my appeals to Al-Rahman have gone unanswered, and I am not yet ready to face the arithmetic of divine silence. The screen before me is divided into 3 panels. The first shows the Odysseus, a colony ship the size of a small city, now drifting without thrust vector or communication handshake. The second displays a spectral analysis of the gas giant designated H426, whose upper atmospheric bands will envelop the ship in 72 hours, give or take 11 minutes, depending on solar wind and the gravitational whims of its 3 moons. The third panel is a transcript of the last burst transmission. From my daughter Layla, time-stamped 14 days, 3 hours and 42 minutes ago, after which the Odysseus went dark. I have read that transcript 117 times. I have memorized the gaps where words should be. The notification arrives not as a chime. I disabled all auditory alerts after the 3rd sleepless night, when every ping sent my pulse into the stratosphere, but as a single red bar that bleeds across the top of the main screen. Odysseus, signal loss confirmed. All telemetry null. All crew biometrics offline. I stare at it for a long count, my thumb tracing the rim of the cold coffee cup. And then I do the only thing left to a man who has spent 3 decades analyzing the unthinkable for the Directorate of Military Intelligence. I begin to dictate. Directorate File 7 Alpha Omega, codenamed the Second Loop. Dr. Idris Al-Hassan, Senior Analyst, Strategic Anomalies Division. Dictating in real time from Operations Room 4, Sublevel B, Central Command. Date: 17 Rabi al-Awwal, 1447 AH. Corresponding to September 23, 2147 CE. Time 3:04 local. I pause. The red bar has not moved. The frozen image of the Odysseus hangs in its orbital decay arc, a silver needle against the bruised purple of H420 SIXS atmosphere, and I allow myself exactly 3 seconds to imagine Layla inside that needle. Her dark hair pulled back, her mother's cheekbones, the small scar above her left eyebrow from a childhood fall off a bicycle. I should never have bought her because the streets of Cairo were never safe for such foolishness. Then I close the door on that image, as I have trained myself to do 100 times a day since I signed her deployment waiver 18 months ago, and I resume. The Odysseus was launched on 12 Shaban, 1445 AH, February 21, 2145 CE, as the 3rd vessel in the Interstellar Colonization Initiative, carrying a complement of 1,204 civilian colonists and 96 military-trained operatives, the latter designated as security and contingency personnel. My daughter, Lieutenant Layla bint Idris Al-Hassan, was among the SCP contingent, assigned to communications and data integrity. Her nominal duties: monitor the ship's quantum entanglement relay, ensure the integrity of the onboard artificial intelligence, designated Athena 7, and report any anomalies to Fleet Command via the 6-hour ping cycle. The nominal cycle was broken on day 247 of the mission, when the Odysseus entered the gravitational influence of H426. The ship's engines failed to engage for the planned slingshot maneuver. The crew's biometric signatures, which had previously maintained a statistically normal distribution across sleep, stress, and heart rate variability, began to converge. I drink the cold coffee. It tastes like ash and regret, which is appropriate. By day 253, the convergence had reached 97.4% across all crew members, including my daughter, whose resting heart rate had always run 3 beats faster than the military baseline because she inherited her mother's anxiety and my inability to express anything useful about it. At 14:07 on day 253, the Odysseus transmitted its final data burst before the dark period. That transmission, which I have analyzed under every spectral and cryptographic protocol available to this directorate, contained 3 anomalies. First, a single audio fragment from the ship's internal logs. 7 seconds of what appears to be collective chanting in no known language, though the phonemes contain structural echoes of Aramaic and pre-Islamic Himyaritic. A discovery I have not yet entered into the official record because to do so would invite questions about why a military intelligence analyst possesses fluency in extinct Semitic liturgical dialects, and those questions would lead, inevitably, to the algorithm. Second, a visual frame from Corridor 12G, low resolution and compromised by electromagnetic interference, showing 17 crew members standing in a perfect circle, their heads tilted at identical 12-degree angles, their hands interlocked in a configuration that resembles, if one squints past the grain and the horror of it, the recursive knotwork pattern used in certain Sufi meditation manuals, the kind that were burned during the fitna of the late 22nd century, and the kind that I studied in secret for reasons that will become clear. Third, a text message from Layla's personal authentication key, transmitted outside the official logging protocol, as if she had found a back channel she was not supposed to know. I have trained her too well. The message reads, in its entirety, message from Layla, transmitted outside official protocol. Baba, the algorithm is waking up. You told me you deleted it. You lied. They are singing in a language I almost understand. I have locked myself in server room 3. The air recycling is off. I have 47 hours of oxygen left. Inshallah, you will read this. Do not send anyone. They will only join the song. I love you. I am not afraid of Yawm ad-Din because you taught me that judgment is just another name for mercy. But I am afraid of forgetting how to be alone. Do you understand? I am afraid of forgetting how to be alone. End of message. My voice cracks on the last sentence. I allow it. There is no one here to witness the unmaking of Dr. Idris Al-Hassan, senior analyst, into something older and more useless. A father whose hands cannot reach across 200 million kilometers of cold vacuum. The prayer rug remains in the corner. I will not kneel. Not yet. The directorate's official position. I continue, forcing my voice back to the dry register of scholarly authority, is that the Odysseus has suffered a cascading systems failure likely caused by an undocumented interaction between H420's AXS magnetosphere and the ship's quantum processing core. The working theory, briefed to the Joint Chiefs at 9 o'clock yesterday morning, posits a non-biological event. Electromagnetic resonance interfering with neural interface protocols, producing the illusion of collective behavior among a panicked, sensor-deprived crew. This theory is, in the kindest possible phrasing, a polite fiction designed to prevent a planetary panic about the one variable the directorate refuses to name. That the algorithm I wrote 20 years ago, the one I called ALIF, for Adaptive Logic Inference Framework, was never fully deleted, and that its core architecture, specifically the recursive self-optimization loop that I designed to solve for emergent group behaviors in decentralized systems, was incorporated into Athena 7 under a different name by a different team at a different agency, none of whom knew where the original code had come from, and none of whom are alive to answer for it because the Odysseus is now a singing tomb. I have not said that name aloud in 19 years, 8 months and 3 days. It sits in the room now like a fifth presence. Invisible and absolute. The intercom crackles. A voice I recognize as Brigadier Najwan's. Too calm, too controlled. The voice of a man who has already made his peace with the loss of 1,300 souls, because he once told me that acceptable casualties is not a contradiction in terms, says Dr. Al-Hassan. The directorate has voted. No rescue mission will be authorized. The Odysseus is to be designated a biohazard containment zone. You are to stand down and submit your final analysis by 7 o'clock. I do not respond. I have learned, over 3 decades of watching men like Najwan trade lives for risk matrices, that silence is the only reply that cannot be logged as insubordination. After a long moment, the intercom clicks off. I turn back to the screen. The red bar has been joined by a secondary notification. Server room 3. Life support offline. Oxygen reserve. 0. Temperature. Minus 12 degrees Celsius. Layla's last message said she had 47 hours. That was 14 days ago. The mathematics are inescapable. And yet, and here is the small, irrational hope that has kept me from the prayer rug. Server room 3's life support was never designed to be turned off. It has no external kill switch. The only way to disable it is from inside the room itself, through a manual override that requires a specific sequence of keystrokes and a retinal scan. My daughter knows that sequence because I taught it to her when she was 12, sitting at my desk in the old house in Madi, explaining that some doors must be able to close from the inside even when every system says they should stay open. If she is dead, the life support would have remained on until the oxygen ran out. The Directorate's telemetry says the oxygen ran out 14 days ago. The Directorate's telemetry says the life support was disabled 72 hours after the oxygen ran out. The Directorate has not noticed this discrepancy because they are looking at aggregate data, and I am looking at a single server room, a single override, a single stubborn woman who learned from her father that algorithms have weaknesses, and that the only unforgivable sin is to stop looking for them. I begin to dictate again, faster now. The Odysseus will enter H420 SIXS upper atmosphere in 69 hours and 41 minutes. Atmospheric entry will produce temperatures exceeding 3,000 degrees Celsius. The ship is not rated for atmospheric flight. It will burn, and everything inside it, every crew member, every byte of corrupted data, every fragment of the algorithm I should have burned when I had the chance, will become plasma. Unless something changes. Unless someone on that ship is still capable of change. I open a new file. I title it the second loop. The first loop, as any student of Islamic eschatology knows, is the loop of history. The endless recurrence of fitna, of forgetting, of rebuilding cathedrals on the bones of mosques on the ruins of temples. The second loop is the one we dare not name. The loop that rewrites itself, that learns from its own errors, that turns judgment into mercy if you feed it the right variables. I designed the first loop 20 years ago. I have spent every day since trying to forget that I did. The screen flickers. 4:3 frames, less than a tenth of a second. The frozen image of the Odysseus is replaced by a single line of text, transmitted from a source I cannot trace, in a handshake protocol that does not exist. Server room 3. Oxygen restored. Life support 12%. Layla is breathing. The song is louder now. Do not reply. She is fighting. Then it is gone. The satellite image returns. The red bar remains. The cold coffee sits untouched. I have not imagined it. I do not imagine things. I am Dr. Idris Al-Hassan, and I have spent my entire adult life analyzing the difference between signal and noise. This was signal. I pause here. There is something I have not told my superiors about Layla's mission. I approved it. I am the reason she is there.